Good evening. Welcome to Soundtracks with Birdman and Erik Woods of Cinematic Sound Radio. How are you?
I'm wonderful. Wonderful. Yes.
And you survived the trip to Chicago, as did I. Neither one of us got killed or murdered, and are killed. So, bravo. Bravo.
We made it.
We made it. So, I'm sure everyone's dying to know how the John Williams concert was in Chicago. And I'm sure all of y'all have heard of the Great Chicago Fire of 1800 and something. And
my favorite story, and I feel bad for all the people that died in that tragedy, but was the fact that they had all the the butchers and stuff like that throwing the animals in the water, right? And then you had that layer of slime, and so people were trying to get away from the fire and they were jumping in the water, but the water was also on fire, so they were on fire and drowning at the same time. I'm like, oh, that's a shit way to go.
Erik is referring to the Haunted Chicago tour we took. I taken these in various cities across the country and the world, and Chicago had a lot more industrial accident type stories and less murder most foul stories.
A lot of people died in our tour and stories. That whole thing about
fires.
Death Alley was crazy.
That was a fire as well. A large theater that they built, which they thought couldn't burn down, and with fire escapes inside the building that then never quite fully fastened to the side, and doors that opened inward, and they were overstuffed to capacity, and the curtains caught on fire. And use your imagination.
Mm-hmm. And, but it was the piling up of the bodies in that alley. That's why it was called Death Alley, because the coroner or something they couldn't take all the dead bodies, so they just had to leave them, and they were like stacked 6 feet high, and they just left them in the alley. It's a horrible story, but no, that was a cool tour. I didn't expect it to be as good as it was, but it was a really neat. It was a nice walk around Chicago at night, and it was
not get killed.
And not get killed. Yeah, but it was great to see the sights that way. And Baylor, our host, she was fantastic.
So. She seemed very knowledgeable.
Very knowledgeable. Yeah, I was talking to her about that, and she's interested in that sort of thing. Like I asked her, "Are you like a historian?" And she's like, "No, but once I learned the stories, she grew to love them." So, yeah.
I should send her a 13 Ghosts of Alabama book.
Sure. And then she can come over and do tours in Alabama.
Yeah. Well, let me welcome the chat super quick. We have, scroll up to the top. We have Big Al Presents. How are you? David Pensack. Hello. Ghost Plan Incorporated 1.0. That looks like everyone's so now. Did I get the award, or I did get the award for best wardrobe?
Oh my God, you should have. No doubt. You were getting looks, that's for sure. Everywhere you went. Oh yeah. Oh,
you mean when we were shooting the Untouchable scene, right?
Well, that was the Untouchable scene, but in the subway. Remember the couple the mother and son that was helping the lady with the baby and her luggage. Yeah. You walked by to take a look at the you walked by and they just kind of looked at each other, and then they looked back at you, and like they didn't know what the hell was going on. But yeah, you look like you were right out of the 1920s.
Did they never see a guy look at the subway map before?
I don't think they've seen one in like it's so sharply dressed in a.
I was really kind of slouching, to be honest. That was.
I keep telling the story about our hour-long jaunt into Fancy Road, Chicago, where all the fancy stores are. And it's like your mecca. I just felt like, yes, sir, I will take your coat while you try on the $1,600 jacket. And then the other guy's looking at me. He's like, this dude in his Mark's Work Warehouse boots, his crappy jeans, this hoodie, and a leather jacket that looks like it's 20 years old. What are you doing in this store? Well, I never felt more out of place than when we walked into that watch store. That was nuts. It's funny because you were so serious. That's the thing. You
I
were dead
was.
serious.
I
My
was.
favorite part was this place we went into. The cheapest watch was $190,000, and we were going to go in and take a look at the watches on display. But since was it COVID that they don't have
Since
them
COVID.
on display anymore, so you're flipping through a screen of this watch that they were proud to have had 3 come through in the past 5 years. So they sold 3 of them, but you're like, oh yes. So what about this and what about that? And all of a sudden the guy said yes, and it's encrusted with, 7,000 diamonds. You're like, I'm not much of a diamond man myself, and I'm like, holy Christ! I turn. I'm like, I don't belong here. I walked out. I'm like, holy. What am I doing here? It was Gucci. It was Prada.
I'm really not much of a diamond man. I don't care about diamonds.
So funny because he's like, oh, well, maybe this guy was totally serious about buying this watch. But the best part was you sending the text to Ian saying that I bought the $3.2 million watch.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which is one of the ugliest damn things I have ever seen in my entire life. Like, even my wife, she's like, how do you operate this thing? I'm like, I don't know, but you can go underwater with it and it'll tell you which direction you are by pointing it to the sun. And I'm like, it must be worth that. That was the craziest. The guy with the clicker at the door was letting us in and out. I mean, he looked like he was armed, ready to shoot anybody to rob the place of like no watches. But it was like, wow. It was like, I could totally see that was your thing, but I was like, no. Get me to a bar and I'll be happy, and like a normal place where I can just buy plain clothes. But yeah, no, you were totally into it. I was waiting for the $200 pairs of socks. That's the one thing I was hoping that you would have bought. I was like, you're gonna drop $200 on a pair of socks.
The socks for $135.
Oh, that's right. Things were on sale, weren't they?
Yeah.
But it was great. No, you definitely like when I first saw you, I was like, oh man. But you're dressed to the nines, you're wearing the black fedora, you got the long jacket, and everything is like, it's clean, it's cut, and you got an awesome watch on, good pair of shoes. And I was like, wow, man, this guy knows how to dress. He's got some style. And here I am, ordinary dad, just walking around Chicago. And that's it. Yeah, we were totally the opposite. But not when we got to the concert. We were on the same wavelength there.
The $200 socks are usually lamb's wool or cashmere, or a combination thereof. The $135 socks are Sea Island cotton. So.
Well, there you go. And I was going to wear my ET socks.
That would have been cool.
It would have been. I only found one, so that tells you.
Hello, Sound Engraver. Thank you for joining us. We're about to get to the concert reviews. I will say this: it was nice to finally go to Paul Stewart after looking at their catalog and like drooling over it for like 30 years to actually be inside Paul Stewart.
You seemed very happy when you walked in, but you were incredibly disappointed, I think, at the size of the store and the selection.
I was.
And you were like, this should have been a lot better. You know what? But when we went to Ralph Lauren, I was impressed with that place. That was a beautiful store. That's their flagship store. Is that right?
It's they said it's the largest one in the company.
It was gorgeous. Like you said, I would live there.
Yeah.
It was beautiful.
It was at least twice the size of the mansion in Boston.
Yeah.
And I adore the mansion in Boston. I go in there, I'm like, hey, everyone. And they're like, hey, Daniel.
No, it was great. I was impressed by it. And there was stuff in there I thought, oh, you know what? This is sort of my wheelhouse of as much as I'd willing to pay for something that looks really nice. It was lovely. I was shocked. We were only on the second floor and there's 4 stories. I thought we're going through this whole thing, and I was like, okay, I'm up for this. And you're like, nah, let's go. There's nothing here for me. I'm like, okay,
3rd floor was women's and 4th floor was housewares. And
yeah,
I was afraid I was going to tire you out.
Oh no, I was good. Well, I was also I had a bad stomach. That I think it was the omelet I ate at Mitchell's. I was just feeling terrible, but I was fine for the concert. Got me some Pepto in me, and I was good to go. But yeah, no, it was and before we get to the review of the concert, I was super impressed by Chicago. I'd never been before, and I heard so many bad things. I also heard that it was like the sister city to Toronto, and so I thought, yeah, once I got there, I'm like, yeah, this does remind me of Toronto, but it has a little bit more character to it the buildings are gorgeous. The history is incredible, and I'd love to go there in the summer and check it out, because I've seen some YouTube videos of what Chicago looks like in the summer. It looks beautiful. I'd love to go to a Cubs game. But it was great to walk in. I mean, it was kind of cold there, but it wasn't annoying enough to stop us from walking from one end of the city to the other. And yeah, no, I loved it. So I think Chicago's great.
Well, I left feeling, and like I go to Boston and I feel like I'm at home away from home. And I don't have that feeling with Chicago. I'm like, I almost feel like I did when I was in Belfast. I'm like, I'm a little uneasy here. And I think my problem with Chicago is all the homeless people, because they all seem so destitute, and it breaks my heart for every last one of them.
Yeah.
I got on the subway Saturday morning, and there's someone sitting there like, with their head against the wall. And in the next car, there's like 5 people sleeping in there. And it's
heartbreaking.
It's so heartbreaking. It's like, you want to help all of them, and it's just like,
you can't. You
can't.
You know what? Yeah, that you really have no idea what they've gone through and what they're. But I mean, I worked for many years in Toronto, so it's something that I'm quite used to. I mean, I used to walk past the homeless all the time. Where I worked for about 3 years before I left Toronto. It wasn't a really good part of town, and you'd see the same regular people just wandering and sleeping on the streets and yelling at things, but then they were like, they're drinking, mouthwash and various other things. You're like, man, you guys are messed up, but there's really nothing you can do unless they decide they're going to get help themselves. So, but yeah, it sucks when it's so cold out and they have nowhere to go. And yeah, that was the tough part. But it's not something, it's something that I'm kind of, I'm used to, again, lived and worked in a big city like that. And that's why, I mean, you say it kind of seemed foreign to you. Chicago seemed like home to me. Like, I've been there before, and it was just, everything was, I was a typical tourist. I mean, you could just tell anybody could have robbed me, because I was so obvious, just looking up at the buildings and looking up all of the things. And I was having a great time. So, but yeah, I feel bad for anybody that's, struggling, that's on the street. Because
I will say this, the lady that was outside the Symphony Center when we got there.
Oh yeah.
She was there at Christmas time.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I don't know if that's her spot or not, but
probably.
Yeah,
you never know. So, but yeah, I mean, there's always, I mean, the thing is, we didn't see like a tent city, which we have here in Kitchener, and I know that like Los Angeles, I think, has like blocks and blocks and blocks of just people living on the street in tents. And I'm not sure what they do in Chicago. Maybe on the outside of the city, that's where they go. But yeah, no, but I felt safe and just kind of at home and in that town. I loved it. I can't wait to go back.
Well, they're doing Close Encounters next year.
Cool. But yeah, like, we stumbled upon Union Station. That was kind of an accident, because we're looking for a breakfast place to go. The lady at the hotel, she's like, yeah, you just go down left and a right, and it's right there. Mitchell's. It was a half an hour walk down to the other side of the city. And we're like, where is this place? But it was 100-year-old like cafe, and it was really awesome. And then we walked right by Union, and you got to pretend to be Kevin Costner and reenact some of the Untouchables. That was great. Yeah. Did you see the person walking down the stairs on the video, just kind of looking at you, going,
no, I didn't notice.
Yeah, you got to look. It's pretty funny.
Next time we're taking a baby carriage.
Yes. Well, even the cop, I said, like, I'm surprised nobody's here with a baby carriage and a camera and charging $25 for pictures. So, yeah.
It was a good trip. Thank you again for going.
No, thank you very much for.
Don't thank me. Thank Rose.
Yes, that's right. Didn't we cheers to Rose on the last night? Thank you, Rose. Oh my God! Yeah, no,
you got to meet Veronica.
Veronica is like a typical true New Yorker, and I haven't met one in my entire life. And it's funny, I had to meet one in Chicago. I mean, I haven't been to New York. I mean, I passed through in the airport, but she was a typical, just no nonsense New Yorker. She won't let anybody talk over top of her. I tried to say something. She's like, nope, I'm not done my sentence yet. And she just keeps on talking, and but she's great. She was awesome. Really nice, but then she always had the same story for everybody that was sitting in the bar. And yeah, no, she was great. So it's too bad we only saw her once. But yeah.
So the concert. I'm just going to say this first, and we'll discuss the pre-show talk.
All right.
I think you and I were both like emotionally rocked before it started, because you're like, I'm finally getting to see John Williams. It's a dream come true, blah, 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 blah. And I was sitting there like, God, if they fuck this up, I'm going to burn this motherfucker to the ground.
That's right. It was even up to the last second. I was like, here we go. And you're like, well, they better be good.
and they opened with the Olympic theme, and I was like, I exhaled my entire soul.
Yes.
I'm like,
oh my God. That trumpet section was, I mean, the whole orchestra was amazing, but you're just kind of, you just thinking that the horns and the trumpets are the ones that's going to squawk notes. They got it. It's John Williams. They're going to do it once in the concert, maybe. And they were pitch perfect. And I'm leaning back so nobody could see me. I'm like, the whole thing I was thinking, I cannot believe I'm in the same room as this genius and John Williams. No, but it's like, I'm watching him conduct. I'm like, holy crap. I'm watching John Williams conduct his own music. And it's just so, and he's doing this for all of us to enjoy. So it was so overwhelming. It was like, how am I this lucky? This is so great. But I mean, it's like thousands and thousands and thousands of people have seen John Williams, but now I know why it's so important.
One guy has seen him 19 times.
Oh, that dude was something else. Yes. This was his 19th time. And he was off in the corner where there's like seating around the orchestra. And he was just conducting his ass off. He was just totally in it. He's like, every time that, yeah. And he's like in sync with Williams. He was even doing the typical Williams ending. I don't know if you ever seen it, but when Williams ends a piece, he'll grab his baton and he'll stroke it across his body, and he'll kind of wave it a bit, like a bit of a vibrato. And that's what this guy was doing. Every time it was over, he's like, waving. And he's like, yeah, that was solid. That was really solid. And it was like, it was quite funny. But I was overwhelmed just by listening to the Olympic fanfare. And I'm like, man, we got to do 2 hours of this. And then we heard Far and Away. And at the end of that, we looked at each other and we just high-fived each other because it was so good. It was so good. And it's something I never thought I'd also hear like live in a true suite, not like a violin version of it or whatever. But man, it was just so good. And the sound is so good. It's so rich. It's so very powerful. Like even the, the quietest playing from the trombones, like you can hear those bells ring. It's tough to kind of play piano in that area. I don't know whether it's the way that the acoustics are naturally in that building or whatnot, but it was just every little thing was like right up in your face, with the exception of the horns. I think I mentioned that to you. The horns seemed,
you have trouble with the French horns.
Yeah, I mean, and they were great too, but they were just kind of behind everything, and you could tell that guy was just wailing. His face was red while he was playing. But yeah, acoustically, it was wonderful. The performances, like when they did Born on the 4th of July, I was sitting on the edge of my seat like this. I was on every single note that this guy was playing, and it was as good as Tim Morrison. It was just as good. He was amazing. And that's where I'm like, world-class orchestra, no doubt. Like they say it's top 5 in the country, but I don't know where it ranks in the world, but they are amazing. And they played some difficult stuff last Friday.
Did you enjoy the pre-show talk?
Yeah, I did. I like listening to Richard Kaufman. He's very well spoken. He's got a really good voice. He's got great stories. And if anybody doesn't know who Richard Kaufman is, I know him first as a conductor of film music, and he's conducted a lot of Williams concerts around the world. But he played. Did he say he was first violin, or was he just a violin player on Jaws and a whole bunch of early
violin player?
Yeah, John Williams scores. So he had some.
He did Jaws, Family Plot. Did he do E.T.?
I think he might have done E.T. Yeah. So yeah, he had some great stories, and I mean, I think about 20 minutes of that whole talk was going through Williams's resume.
Yeah.
But no, it was great, and it was great to hear. I mean, it was great to hear. I think it was the French horn player that he was talking to, and how they got the opportunity to perform a John Williams film score on Lincoln, and just great insights on the man and how to play music and what it takes. And so I really enjoyed the talk. Yeah.
Well, he said when they were scoring Lincoln, they brought plywood in to extend the stage to up the acoustics. I'm like, I like that. We should do that more often.
Yeah, absolutely. It would definitely makes a difference.
But at the end, they were taking questions from the audience, and this kid with like long blue hair asked a question, and right. He's like, I've seen John Williams 19 times now, and I'm like, yes. And could you just give him a message and ask him to play 1941? And I screamed out, I said, thank you, and some Jane Eyre, please.
Yeah. And people got a good laugh out of that one. Yeah. It was great.
Then the guy's like, well, you'll be disappointed. There's no 1941 tonight.
Yeah. That was
whatever. Go back there. Go back. Y'all can play. I'll hum it. You can play it. Come on. Let's do this. Make this kid happy. But I would have loved to have talked to him and be like, hey, man, I need you on my show.
Yeah. I don't know who he is. I mean, I don't know whether he's like a JW fan regular or whatnot. But someone was taping a lot of the good stuff. There's a whole bunch of YouTube videos that are out there now. I mean, people were recording some of the show, and so for instance, the encore for Rare's Lost Ark, I swear I can hear you just as it's starting, because I know you did this. Radio started and you went woo, and we high-fived, and I swear I can hear you on the recording. I'm like, that's Daniel. Absolutely.
I think what he's talking about is woo!
Yeah. And you can hear it.
Talking about. It's
so
all right.
If you find that video,
okay.
If you find that video, you can. So they played, and that was the special moment for me, because I saw a Facebook video, one of the short videos of the harp player, and she was going through everything they were playing that night, and so we had saw the program, and that was online, but that was the program of the show.
It is,
and so we already knew what was being played, but she had shown two other pieces that were obviously going to be the encores, and it was Yoda's theme and the Imperial March. So I expected only the two encores, which I thought was great. So he does Yoda's theme, which was lovely. And there was a couple of people who had no idea what in the world that was.
Why are they there? Why are they taking up space?
Is that little guy from Star Wars? But then he comes out, and I'm thinking, oh, well, they're gonna bring the house down with the Imperial March, and he gives the downbeat, and all of a sudden it's the Raiders March rhythms playing. I'm like, well, woo! We're high-fiving, and I'm lost. I don't remember much of that because I was so overwhelmed. Because I mean, it's my favorite score. It's being conducted by my favorite conductor, and all I could think about, and it's amazing that film music does, just all those memories of being a kid and my mom introducing me to the movie, and seeing it with my son on the big screen for the very first time with a live in concert at the TSO, and those special things all just kind of just hit me like a Mack truck, and I couldn't see anything. Eyes just all watery. I'm like, Daniel, don't look over here. I'm a mess. And I'm just constantly just wiping tears away. And I think it was like after Marion's theme, I was finally like, I focused and I just listened to the last, 90 seconds, but it still was just, I mean, I honestly can't believe I'm here. And again, anybody that's seen John Williams, I mean, I'm not special, but it's my first time, and now I guess I can imagine why everybody finds that seeing their kind of anybody that saw, Jerry Goldsmith or any of their favorite composers back in the day, how much of an important experience that is. So I never thought in a million years I would see John Williams live. I gave up on that many years ago, and I would have been fine. It would have been nice, but when this opportunity came about, I'm like, yeah, absolutely. I'm gonna, say yes to you and come down and check this out. And I'm just so glad that it turned out to be so much better than I expected, because, Williams could have either, who knows? I mean, the guy's 91 years old. You know what? It's interesting. He reminded me, and I'm not sure whether I told you this, but he reminded me of Yoda in Attack of the Clones. Reason being, he slowly shuffles his way to the podium when he's first announced, right? Needs help up on the podium, leaning on chairs, leaning on, the rest that he has there before the show starts. I'm like, oh my God, this man looks frail, but I get it. He's 91 years old. But then all of a sudden he's got the baton in his hand, and boom, downbeat on the the Olympic theme and fanfare and theme, and it's all of a sudden he's just waving his arms like he's 40 years old again. And it was great to see that transformation. It was like Yoda when he walks out in Attack of the Clones. He's all crippled, right? And all of a sudden he's flinging around and fighting Dooku like he's young Yoda again. And then when he's done, he's all out of breath and he can't walk anymore. And that's exactly what Williams was like. Williams was like Yoda from Attack of the Clones. And the thing is, he had 3 encores. And so that means he had to walk off stage, walk back on stage, do his thing, walk back off stage, do his thing. And he was just, the best thing though was at the end when you knew the night was over finally after the Imperial March, and he walks off and he's looking at the audience, and all he does is this while he's walking off, and that's it. We're all like, all right, Williams is going to sleep. That's it. Night's over. But yeah, it was so great. And listening to some of the chatter, I went to the washroom during intermission, and there were, some guys just saying how much they enjoyed this because it was like their childhood coming, back to life, and they can remember all the scenes that they remember seeing as kids because of the music. So, it was not only important to me, but you could just tell that I think there's people there that didn't really anticipate the reaction they were going to have. But he's a rock star. John Williams is a friggin' rock star. That place
he walked out, standing ovation from him just walking out, and it wasn't just like a. People were up.
He was like, sit down. We got to start this thing. Yeah, it went on, and the standing ovation at the end was like 5 minutes long. We wouldn't let him leave. It was the place was nuts. There was so much energy, and it was such a great, varied program too. It wasn't just all the hits. There were some hits, but we got I think it was only like the second recording of Grit and Glory, the music he wrote for the for ESPN's college football championship game. And I think I only heard it once, and I hadn't heard it since, but apparently the tempo he took it at was super slow, like really slow. But again, I wasn't very familiar with it, so it was fine by me. But then when he did Obi-Wan, I was amazed by how powerful that was. I mean, I like the theme anyway, but man, live, that thing cooks. It's really, really good. But yeah, it was a wonderful experience, and yeah, I have you to thank for it. I mean, that's all. You didn't have to do this, and I'm so glad that you did. I'm so glad that I met you. But yeah, it was really, I mean, it was a dream come true. It's like all I need is the Toronto Maple Leafs to win the Stanley Cup, and I can die a happy man.
Okay, well, I'll see what I can do about that next year.
Get on that.
I mean, make some phone calls.
Yeah. But
yeah, let's go over the program. We started with the Olympic fanfare and theme. You lost it. You were just like
I was in the back. I'm just like, and there was another girl beside me. She was crying her eyes out too, and it was so, like I said, so overwhelming. So many thoughts, but it was great.
So we were second balcony. Yeah, we were second balcony.
Yeah, because they had the boxes just below us, but they were great seats.
And then the first time I went at Christmas, I was in like the very tippy top balcony. The sound up there is not as good.
Okay.
And
we were right in line with the trombones too, so maybe that's what was happening. But it was just, the sound.
I was like, please don't mess this, please. Because I'm like, man, if I have to get up and walk out and leave you here, I'm just going to feel like an ass.
Well, the guy in front of me left, right? There was a guy, he was sitting in front of me, and he didn't return after intermission.
I don't know what. Some people got up and left before the encores came on.
Yes,
I'm like, what are you doing?
Too. And did you see the 7-year-old that was like sitting in the front row? He was in a blue suit, and he's like all lounged out like this, and every piece was done, and he wasn't clapping. And meanwhile, Williams is giving this speech about introducing, music to the youth of the world. And this kid's just like, get me out of here. I don't care about Star Wars. And I'm like, you're in the front row, dude. You have no idea how great you got it.
Well, I'm like, if they can nail the Olympic theme, smooth sailing.
Yeah.
And like, because I knew, like, looking at the program, okay, the Olympic theme and Far and Away both have emotional arcs that if you miss it, you're fucked in my book.
Yeah.
Don't just call off the concert. Stop. But they nailed it in both pieces. And I was so relieved. But yeah, I thought the Olympic fanfare sounded very good. And then they did Far and Away. I thought the trombone sounded a little bit curt, and the orchestra sounded a bit disjointed at times. But overall, I think it worked, and they hit the emotional high in the piece. So it's good. Mm-hmm. It's okay.
Yes.
Then we had 3 things from Harry Potter, and I don't know Harry Potter, but the first thing they did, which was Hedwig's theme, fucking killed it.
They did.
Yeah, I think that's the best recording I've heard of Hedwig.
I told you he was the celeste player. So he's sitting here with his celeste. The piano's over here, and his music is here. And then this is not an easy piece to play. He played the whole darn thing looking like this the whole way. He didn't look once at his fingers for the whole piece. I was like, dude, like one missed note, you can tell. And he nailed it. And it was at the exact perfect pace too, as the original recording. It was dynamite. And
it was.
And Fox and Phoenix, you can tell that is something that really means something to Williams. There's something about that piece. You can just tell the way that he was conducting. He was leaning over more so than anything else, and just really like ramping up those strings and the horns to really bring it. And you can just see very, very animated conducting. Probably his most animated conducting in the entire show.
Then they did Harry's Wondrous World as the third piece.
Yeah, it was great.
It kind of made me want to come home and break out my Harry Potter set.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure one day I'll rediscover those scores and appreciate them.
Yeah.
But then we had theme from Born on the 4th of July, which I think should have gotten an introduction because, as you had commented, I think during intermission, not everybody knows what that is.
That's right.
Which I don't understand that, but whatever. But yeah. I felt like that needed an introduction.
But that got a huge ovation too, because the soloist, he was amazing. And I was mentioning this to you. That city, I think I was mentioning this to my wife as well. That city, Chicago, loves their orchestra. Loves them. Because they got signs and banners everywhere all over the city for this orchestra. And when they were there, they appreciated every single soloist. They got to stand up twice because we wouldn't sit down. We're like, yeah, woo. And so Williams was like, stand up again. He acknowledged. They love their orchestra. I haven't experienced that anywhere else I've seen an orchestra. But Born on the 4th of July was just magnificent. Just the range on the solo trumpet. Holy smokes, that's not easy.
No.
Not easy. But the tone was great.
I was worried about that. I'm like, man, I hope the trumpet players, but yeah, he's
unbelievable.
Yeah. Then we got Adventures on Earth from E.T. And they flubbed a part of that towards the end. But it was brief. But I'm like, But you know what? Everything, because E.T. is damn hard to play.
It is.
Let's just be honest.
Yeah. But I think you were waiting for that one part, that dun 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 dun. You were like, nail that, and everything's okay.
Yeah.
And they nailed it.
Yeah. I was very happy with the first bit of it, and I was like, whew. Thank you.
Yeah. You'll come back. You'll come back for the second half.
Yeah. Intermission happened, and okay, that was the thing.
Yes, it was.
See, they opened up with A Grit and Glory, which I think I've heard 2 or 3 times on the YouTube, and I enjoyed that piece. It's got hallmarks to the Olympic music, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
I think we need a recording of it.
Oh, absolutely.
What if they recorded this concert and they put it out on LP and CD in 6 months?
Oh, I'd buy it.
I'd buy it too.
People would still they'd be not happy due to the pace of that piece because it was slow. I think we need to hear the original recording, because even on the TV version, there's about 20 seconds lopped out that wasn't part of the actual television version of it. You heard it during the promos, but it's part of the whole concert suite. And apparently he reworked some bits of it, even the ending. So I honestly think there needs to be I'm shocked that there hasn't been a release yet. So I don't know whether it has anything to do with ESPN or the NCAA or whatever, the rights, who knows, but someone's got to release that.
Well, then they did Jurassic Park. I think Jurassic Park and Hedwig's theme were the 2 best performances of the night.
It was very well done.
I wish I'd gotten a recording of Jurassic Park. Yeah. I wish they'd had the chorus in there too, but I mean, I can't buy all them $250,000 watches, right?
Right. Yeah, that's right. I'm surprised there isn't like a synth player playing something, because that's what they did on the Eric Kunzel recordings. It's synth choir, and it sounds good, and you can add that in, and I think that's an extra layer that would have been nice to hear, but still, it was fine.
Then they did Helena's theme from Indiana Jones 5. Don't eat my knee, Titus. Thank you. Which I liked it more hearing it live than I've liked hearing it on the YouTube.
I still can't hum it for you. I don't know what the tune is.
I can't either.
Yep.
It still sounds like an early draft of Marion's theme to me.
There's definitely bits and pieces of Marion's theme in there, especially near the end of it. But it definitely has that femme fatale 1940s sound to it. It's just I cannot pick up the tune, and then I hear it while it's being played. I'm like, oh, okay, but I still can't pick up. I can't pick up the line, right? I don't know where it's going and what it's doing. So I'm not sure whether it's a piece that doesn't have focus. Like, it reminds me of when Williams is noodling around with the Han Solo and Princess concert suite. The first version is straightforward. You hear it. It's perfect. And then he's adding more and more stuff, and he's noodling around with it, and that loses focus. So I find that this theme, I'm not getting it, and I'm trying to figure out how they're going to apply it to this score and how it's going to work. So I'm going to have to hear it a couple more times, but not until I hear the original recording. I don't want to listen to any crappy like cell phone recordings of it. So, but yeah, but it was nice. It's a nice treat to hear music that hasn't been released yet.
Yeah. And John Williams said that he thinks that they're finally done filming Indiana Jones 5.
Yes.
So,
yeah. I mean, he's done scoring, so
yeah.
Unless they're going to bring him back, or they're doing reshoots or whatever. Who knows? Who knows what's happening?
See, then we got the duel from the Adventures of 1010. And John Williams gave a little story to the audience, but he forgot to use his microphone.
The best part is when he turned around and he goes, All right. Well, I hope everybody heard that. It just turned around. I could picked up bits and pieces of it when he was talking about the little cutesy music in there when talking about swords lopping off buttons and things of that sort. And I'm like, oh, that's an interesting little tidbit on how he goes about scoring it. But I thought that was energetic. That was a lot of fun. He was really into that one too. He really likes that piece. It's a great score.
He played that in Pittsburgh, and I'm sure he said like the exact same thing he said.
Yeah, most likely. Yeah.
The Adventures of Tintin, I think that score needs to get a lot more love and recognition.
Yes.
From me and from everyone else, because I've got it. I listened to it a couple times, but if I go back and listen to it again, I'm like, why do I not listen to this more? Mm-hmm. This is like classic 1980s John Williams right here.
Yep. Man, it's got some pirate music in there, which he rarely has written for, and it's dynamite. It's like a continuation of his material from Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, which is a good score, but I find it a little bit too whimsical for Indiana Jones. So when it was applied to Tintin, that style, I thought, oh, now this is where that type of music belongs, and it worked brilliantly. Brilliant. Oh my God, the flute writing in it is ridiculous. It is so good. Big themes, and it's just so much fun. Great recording. It's just too bad they didn't make more of those movies. It's too bad, because even the movie itself didn't get enough love. I think it's fun, and I'd love to see more.
We got theme from Sabrina, which I think that needed an introduction.
I think so too, and I think that's the Sophie Mutter arrangement of it, and I think it is. I have to go back and listen to it. I prefer the Perlman version if you're going to do a violin solo. I don't really particularly like that arrangement. I think Sabrina needs to be played on the piano. It's very much like that's in John Williams's wheelhouse. It's either jazz or a piano piece, and that one is that's John Williams writing for piano, and that's his instrument. And I would love to have heard a nice piano solo. Or just focus on the piano for that. Hear the real orchestration. Again, it just kind of loses focus. It wasn't my favorite. Probably the least favorite from the concert for me.
See, I thought the piano on it sounded very lovely, because there was piano.
What there was, yes, but I think that if you listen to the concert arrangement that's on the album, I mean, the piano plays a prominent role in that score along with the sweeping strings, but it's really a piano piece. It's a so.
See, the last time I heard it live was in Pittsburgh, and my least favorite German just like slaughtered it like cattle.
Yep.
So I'm like, much prefer this.
Oh yeah,
slaughtered.
Sure, absolutely. Yes, he was very good. Yeah, I mean, performed it very well, but it was just, I'm like, all right. I love it. I love that piece, but I would have liked to hear the original version myself. But again, I'm being picky at my first John Williams concert. Like, whatever, he can play. John Goldfarb, Please Come Home, for all I care. Just play more music, John Williams. That
score's got some good parts too.
Some good parts.
Johnny Shannon says The Pursuit of the Falcon track on 1010. Oh. Yeah, that whole score
my goodness.
Whoever hasn't like really sat down and listened to it, and I'm talking to myself here too. You need to sit down and spend like 5 or 6 hours with that on repeat.
Yep.
And I think you'll love it as much as you do Hook or.
I think so. The thing in the film score community, that was like everybody loves that. We were doing like votes on like the best of the year, and that one was up there. That and Warhorse. I mean, he wrote those two in the same year, and those are wonderful scores, and both wonderfully different too. But Tintin's amazing. It's its own thing. That is just it's an underrated masterpiece, and I hope it gets discovered by everybody. It just it rises up to be like, one of the best scores John Williams has ever written, because it's so good.
It is getting a lot of concert time. That was at the Kennedy Center. Yo-Yo Ma and my least favorite German were like dueling it out on the stage.
There's a track that I would have loved to have heard, and it's the Sir Francis and the Unicorn. That doesn't get performed, but that's that big flashback to the pirate story, and it's got an amazing theme, and it's a beautiful 5-minute piece, and that I would love to have heard that, mixed in with the duel. And even Snowy's theme would make for a nice kind of 9 to 10 minute suite, I think.
Okay, after spring, we had 3 Star Wars selections. We had the X-Wings from The Force Awakens. What did you think about that?
Very good.
Just right out of the gate, boom, hits you in the face.
Yeah. And that's one that didn't need an introduction. And then when the Star Wars theme played there, everybody was like, oh yeah, here we go. Yeah. Because I'm sure a lot of people weren't familiar with that. But that was awesome. And what a great way to start that suite.
And and that kind of really makes me want to go back to see The Force Awakens at the end of June. But alas, I gave my tickets away.
The only thing is, I mean, that queue is the one that gets slaughtered the most in the movie. And that's really too bad. It gets chopped to bits, which is quite unfortunate because it's a great, great piece.
Then we have the Obi-Wan theme, which I've never been a fan of. I like it more after hearing it live.
I had goosebumps. That theme saved that score. Without it, I don't know what we would have had with that score, because that score is a mess anyway. It's not Natalie Holt's fault, but I loved having that piece. I liked having the scherzo for X-Wings and Obi-Wan. It's not the typical Star Wars music. It's really great that he selected those 2 pieces, especially Obi-Wan's. Like, that's, and his touching story as well, and wanting to have Alex Guinness back. It was nice. It was nice, but you could tell Ben very passionate about that theme. He really liked it, and he seems to forget that he already wrote a theme for Obi-Wan.
Yes, the Force theme.
The Force theme. But it was a nice story, and I'm glad people got to hear it. I'm glad more people got to hear it.
Yeah. Then we had Throne Room and finale from Star Wars.
And brought the house down, man.
It
brought the house down. What a!
Then everyone
you can see people like when it's just started, just wanted to get up and go, yeah, and it was roaring, just roaring. It was like the bottom of the ninth grand slam to win the World Series. That place was going crazy. It was awesome. It was an awesome sight to see, and that's when I took my pictures. It was the only time I brought my camera out, and I gotta have my own photos of John Williams at least. So, yeah, that was the only time I pulled my phone out.
Then we got Yoda's theme, right?
Yep.
As an encore. Yeah.
Yep. Subdued.
Which was lovely. And everyone was excited. Yeah. And he walked off. And then he came back. And we were expecting the Imperial March.
Yes.
But we got the Raiders March.
That's it. You ruined me. I was done. I was finished. I'm like, I was disappointed that it wasn't part of the program. And so I'm like, okay, that's fine. We got all this other great stuff. But then he played that, and that was just a shock. I looked over at you whooped, we high-fived. That's it. I was in some other world, and it was great. And you can even see everybody have, like, the orchestra having fun playing it, because there was like a little bit of a giggle once the theme started playing, and they were just belting it out. They were having a really, really good time.
They were best.
Yeah. And it was so great. And so I'm so happy I got to experience that. And then of course it's like, well, how do you finish that off? I mean, you gave me the Raiders March, but then it's
because you said, I thought we were getting the Imperial March. And I'm like, just wait, it's okay.
Yeah.
He can still do it.
Well, yeah, and the thing is, and also I said this to you, he had scores for every one of the pieces that he played, but his encores, nope. He didn't have a book in front of him. He just, I've played these a billion times. I know them. He wasn't flipping scores, and it was just great to see him also kind of enjoying that. Yeah, it was so great. But then you could just tell, because we had a pretty good, you could see the side, kind of sort of like the 3/4 view of Williams from behind. But when the Imperial March started, the place went crazy.
It just blew the roof off.
He was smiling. Everybody, string players are smiling. Everybody's smiling, and my God, they just, you're right, blew the roof off the place. It was so great. Yeah, it was unbelievable, and it ended, and it was like, again, like a 5-minute ovation. He wanted to go to sleep, and we just wanted more, but it was so satisfying. I came out there, I was just grinning ear to ear and it was the best sleep I've had in a really, really long time. I was so happy. And yeah, it was just it's one of the great days. It was a great day. And I have you to thank for that. So
You have Rose to thank for that.
we have Rose to thank for that. Cheers, Rose. But yeah, I mean, I hope everybody that got a chance to see John Williams for the first time felt exactly the same way that I did. And I hope that, you know, many more people get a chance to experience it. And honestly, it's worth whatever money you can throw at and go see him. And if he's close and you've never seen him before, go. You gotta go. Because again, I was like, all right, fine, I'm not gonna see him and whatever. That was so stupid. I'm so glad this happened. I would have regretted it. I would have. And yeah, it was so wonderful. So wonderful. But
I will say this, like in Boston, if it's John Williams film night or if it's the Christmas concert, you can just scoop the Goodwill out of the air with a spoon and just eat it. It's so palpable in the building. And I felt that in Chicago with John Williams. I didn't feel it at their Christmas concert, but I felt it that night that you and I were there. It's like, this is what Boston feels like. This is what the room feels like. You know, you walk around and everyone's smiling and they're just happy and they're just in a good mood. And it's like, bring it. Yeah. You know?
Yeah.
And that's how Chicago was that night in their symphony hall. And I'm like, I like this. This is good.
Yeah.
Pittsburgh just wasn't really. It's like, yes, we're going to a concert. Yes, let's have a martini. You know, and the Kennedy Center was just like, yes, like I was working, but I thought I needed to come to this concert, so I called my friend and we got tickets and blah. And I'm like, what the fuck are you here for? You know.
Yeah, I think the people wanted to be there. I think, you know, the main, you know, ticket holders understood the importance of it. It just blows me away when you see stuff like that and you're like, hold on, like why isn't film music programmed more often? And I'm pretty sure it's really expensive to get. And that's what I've heard. I've heard that, you know, like just getting the music is pretty expensive, but it's just to see that reaction. But then again, I think it's in two parts. You have John Williams conducting, and you don't normally get that with a film music concert. You usually get either a guest conductor or the main conductor of the orchestra is going to, you know, conduct a film night. And then again, it's film music through, you know, classical music fans' eyes or ears, and they just don't usually mesh. But seeing that energy there and how enjoyable that experience is, I just kind of wish there was more than just live in concert performances. While those are great, it's introducing a whole generation to film scores and orchestral music, and it's wonderful. I love that stuff. I just wish that film music was taken more seriously, as serious as classical music, where you're able to extract maybe 20-minute suites and play them like a symphony and be able to enjoy it like a Beethoven symphony or, you know, Mozart or whatever. And you can have sort of theme nights, right? I mean, imagine doing like a Halloween show and you have, you know, 2 or 3 long pieces of Halloween film music that, you know, you can play, and it has an arc. You're not just playing, you know, 3 to 4 minute themes, right? And I think that's also another thing where you're just like you're constantly playing about 12 different pieces, and it's tough to kind of like get in that mood. And so I just hope that I hope we're, due to this live and concert stuff and due to the popularity of John Williams and him touring at the age that he is, that we're going to see more of that with orchestras around the world, that they're going to embrace it and want to perform that, and even perform you know, the classical work of film composers. Like Korngold's symphony was just played out in Europe, and I mean, you rarely see like Roge's classical music program, Korngold's stuff, Herman's, John Williams. When's the last time a John Williams like Five Sacred Trees was performed without John Williams conducting.
It's being played in Atlanta this summer.
And that's fantastic. That is great. I just wish we saw more of that. But I mean, I'm looking at the new season for like the TSO and our Kitchener Waterloo Symphony. And yeah, they're going to play Superman. They're going to play Back to the Future. They're going to have their own film night. But then it's just like, oh, here's Mendelssohn, here's Beethoven, here's Mozart, it's like, oh my God, like, come on, play something else. But I'm not really the people that they're going after, right? The classical people. And I guess they love that sort of stuff. And it's like, great. But man, I think if you program more, you get somebody to write great suites, like symphonies, film music symphonies. Man, that's your classical music of the 20th century and 21st century now, right? And that's where your new orchestral music is coming from, the popular orchestral music. It's got to be performed by more orchestras around the world without the film playing. Like, let your imagination run wild. I mean, if you hear like, 20 minutes of Interview with a Vampire, well, you just say it's from Interview with a Vampire, but like, don't tell them what the story was. Don't tell them who was in it. Let people who maybe not seen it before, imagine whatever they want when they listen to the music. And that's what Elliot Goldenthal does anyway. He extracts his film scores and turns them into suites, and they're wonderful. Like the Michael Collins suite, he has one where he integrates, I think, Final Fantasy and Sphere together and creates classical works out of them, but they're still based on film music and they become their own thing. Anyway, it's just, there needs to be more love for film music in the classical halls around the world. And I just kind of wish, John Williams was more accessible. And I wish more composers like, Giacchino and Silvestri and all those guys would go on tour as well. And
we discussed that night as well. Like, yeah, wouldn't it be great if James Horner had done concerts? And
yeah, he didn't understand the power of his music in the concert world until he was at the Hollywood in Vienna event that was a tribute to his music, and then he saw the power of listening just to his music divorced from the film and how the audience reacted to it. And I honestly thought, or I heard, that he was going to start going out and doing tours of his music. And he was also, writing new classical music. And that would have been so exciting. Like James Horner comes to town with all of his great scores. I mean, what a night that would be. I just wish more people did that. But John Williams is a very unique conductor. And I think he saw a way of getting film music to the masses when he signed up to be the conductor of the Boston Pops. It's a lot of work for the guy because he still has to write his scores, but then he has to do a full season of the Boston Pops. But for those 13 years that he was the conductor there, he got so much of his music out. He was recording a lot of his music for those albums, and he was introducing people to other types of pops material as well. But I mean, he was on he was on front stage every year during those broadcasts, the radio broadcasts, TV broadcasts, and he was playing his film music, and that was getting out to the world more so than anybody else did. And it'd be great if other composers maybe kind of dabbled as conductors of major orchestras or whatever. And
imagine if Michael Pisano took over like the Los Angeles Philharmonic Orchestra.
Or even like
started releasing CDs.
Yeah, right. You know what I mean? Like doing recordings of his stuff with even like the LA Youth Orchestra, who are just fantastic. Give them a chance, or like the LA Phil or whatever. Record some stuff in San Francisco, or but do it yearly. Go out there yearly and play your stuff, but also do programs of other film music. Get that out to the world. But Giacchino's one that would be able to do that, I think, and do it well and get it out to the world. He's one of those well-known name composers that's not Hans Zimmer out there that I think could do that. And he's very popular when he went out to London, teaming up with David Arnold, and he had his own 50th birthday party out there, and it was super popular. And I just wish more film composers did that. Did what John Williams did back in the 80s.
Johnny asked if John Williams' motion he had to go to bed. Yes, he does this at like every concert I've ever been to.
I love it. I thought that was great. I'm glad he didn't do it after Yoda's theme.
Yeah, or been like, Well, time for me to go. Um, Sound Engraver says problem is contemporary film composition is deviating from the classical form. Yeah, a lot of it is. There's still some wonderful um, stuff out there. I'm just going to plug my dude Fernando. Of course, he's not in this country, but internet's a wonderful thing. Sometimes, most of the time.
But I mean, even composers like, Bruce Broughton could get out there. Lee Holdridge could get out there. Cliff Idleman could get out there and perform their stuff. But like I said, Giacchino's one of those ones that very classically minded composer, who would be perfect. And his concerts do very well. So, yeah, and there's a new like imagine a Bear McCreary concert. That could be so.
He's done some.
Yeah, but I mean, like massive orchestras and the taiko drums and all that sort of stuff. That would be so much fun. Like, what's Howard Shore was doing concerts of his Lord of the Rings stuff, and the Lord of the Rings Symphony. Why isn't that played all the time? That'd be wonderful to hear.
Cleveland Orchestra is doing Return of the King this summer.
That's a massive undertaking. That's just nuts. But like
there's two different choirs. They've got two different choirs.
But like there's a Matrix symphony out there. That'd be great. And it tagged onto that was Warriors of Virtue suite. So I mean, and Don Davis has written an opera, he's written classical music. I mean, it's all out there. It's I just don't think that like a classical patron will see Don Davis's Matrix and go, yeah, sign me up for that. It just won't sell. But I mean, that's some of the most avant-garde film music you'll ever hear. So, but yeah, I mean, there's baby steps with this live and concert stuff. At least there's something out there. And if you can get people to go, and even if they're just going to watch the movie and pay $110 to go see a movie, but then they're going to notice the orchestra and they might hear something or go, wow, I never realized that this is what it took to write music for a film.
I also think they need to keep the experience attainable for like a family of four, because Nashville's doing Jurassic Park this summer. Tickets start at $150.
Yeah.
So family of four, you got $600 before you walk in the door.
And that's the problem.
That hurts. I'm looking at $150 just for me. I'm like, no, I'm not. I don't need to see it that bad. Maybe if it was in Boston and John Williams was conducting or Keith Lockhart, I would do it. But no, I'm okay.
Yeah, they're just so expensive to put on. There's so many people behind the scenes that are working on it. The licensing, the rights to play the movie, all the music. I understand why the tickets are that high, but you're right. Like those should be like part of like a family concert pack where, on a Sunday at 2:00, like you can have your regular shows, but then if you go like a family of four with like two kids, right, you can come in and you get like tickets at half price and you can come watch it and you can introduce your children to like the movies that you loved and they can listen to the symphony. And I mean, I dragged my kids to the symphony. They don't like this music, but I mean, I felt that it was important for them to, to hear something different, especially when they were young, and they enjoyed it. But I mean, I dragged my son to see Empire and Raiders of the Lost Ark, and he thought it was fantastic. I mean, they're not his favorite movies, but it was like, yeah, he was having a good time. He was. So yeah, there's got to be a way. You're right. There's got to be a way that a family can afford these things, and so that children are introduced early at an early age to this wonderful music and know that it's out there. So, but yeah.
David Pinzak says he's seen the Lord of the Rings Symphony and it's outstanding.
It's great. Yeah, I would love to see that live. I would.
There's a CD release of it. I know.
Correct. Yeah. Yeah, it would be. I would go to that. But I'll still go. I mean, we got a movie night coming up here, and the great thing about our small town orchestra, the seats in the back are like $35, and they're great seats. So everything sounds wonderful. I think we're going to see Back to the Future for like that same price. But meanwhile, you go to Toronto, and we're paying $110 for a seat to see Superman. So it's a really whatever. And we got a really good orchestra here and a world-class facility as well. The acoustics are amazing. So it's yeah, they got to be. And also I think that the smaller towns that have their symphonies and maybe play like 3 or 4 programs a year, I think they've got to get more support as well. Like I didn't realize that some of the smaller towns in around here, Scarborough, Mississauga, Hamilton, they all have their own like philharmonics and symphonies, and they play like 4 or 5 shows a year. Sometimes they play a film music show. I'm not sure what kind of support they get, but yeah. But I'm sure tickets are really cheap. So if you want to go see the symphony, go to the smaller towns that have, their own orchestras and support them.
Well, on a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate the concert?
Man, it was like 500 out of 10. It was so, I mean, he could, look, he could have an orchestra at kazoos and I still would have enjoyed it. I got to see John Williams conducting his music. I got to see a brilliant orchestra, playing that music back to us, and just absolute pros. And in a great facility, good company. It was a great time. I mean, it's something I'm never ever going to forget. It's so vivid. It's one of those memories. It's so vivid. And everything about it. It's just, there's so much that happened during that day. It was just a great day. Even though I wasn't feeling great for about half of it, it was still just a great day. And I don't get too many of those. And I was so happy. I was genuinely happy. And so, yeah, again, thank you. It was it was a dream come true. So it was wonderful.
Well, thank you again for going. Otherwise, I would have gone by myself and just been.
Yeah, you had room to stretch out, though, right? You could just, you were right on the end, so you had some room, and yeah. No, it was good. I was comfortable, great seats. Yeah, I couldn't stop looking around. I love the hall was wonderful. It's a lovely hall. So yeah, wonderful time, and I hope everybody gets a chance to experience it at least once. So yeah, it was great.
Well, John Williams is conducting the Hollywood Bowl Orchestra over Labor Day weekend this year, and he'll be at Tanglewood in August. I think it's August.
And that's a good way to see him.
I think that's it for this year, unless you go to Europe.
Yeah, I think I don't know if he's going out there again. Maybe. I don't know. Maybe he has to stick around until Indy 5 is released. And then who knows what else is happening for him during the year. Like what other scores, like whatever Spielberg's working on. Whatever Star Wars property he has to rescore. Well, they're kind of slowing down on that now.
Can we just give Joel McNeely some work, please? He did a wonderful job on was it Heir to the Empire? Was that?
Sorry, say that again?
Joel McNeely. Was it
Heir to the Shadows Empire? Of the Empire.
Shadows of the Empire. Yeah.
And program that in. Totally. That would be brilliant. My friend Tim Burton was curating a concert, and he programmed that in the 10-minute finale cue. Full orchestra, full chorus. And I think it was the first time it had been performed anywhere since the recording. Yeah. I would love to produce a concert. That would be so much fun. I mean, expensive, but yeah.
It's only money, right?
I know. Yeah. I thought about it. I thought, well, what's the program going to be? I could program some pretty cool stuff. Yeah.
Is there anything that you wish they had played, like one piece?
That is a very, very good question. I'm shocked they didn't play Lincoln. Shocked.
Yeah.
It's the only score they've recorded. It's like they didn't even play it. I'm trying to think of what would have been like. Hook would have been good. And I'm talking like the full suite of Hook, like that was on the Williams on Williams compilation. Play all that. That'd been great. I would have loved to have heard the concert arrangement of the Lost World, Jurassic Park, because that's a really, really cool arrangement of that. That's a blistering piece of music. And Kunzel recorded it, and it's wonderful. And I'm shocked. You know what? I would have been great if they'd surprised us with a little bit of Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, just because Short Round won his Oscar. That would have been a great way to. He'd come out and go, here's a tribute to Key, and let's play Short Round's theme as a celebration. That would have been neat. I think that and Hook would have been super, really super. But I'm glad they played some of the little more like offbeat stuff. I didn't expect Born on the 4th of July. I didn't expect Far and Away. Did not expect Of Grit and Glory, and did not expect Sabrina or Obi-Wan. And I would be very interested, and I'm not sure whether he has, but recorded the suite from The Rise of Skywalker, because I think it's about 3 or 4 pieces long, and that would have been interesting to hear. So, but yeah, I thought it was a great program. It was an eclectic mix of different types of scores and great soloists, and it was fun. Just a fun night out. How about you? Jane Eyre, right?
I would like to heard some Jane Eyre, because there's a YouTube recording the Chicago Symphony doing 3 pieces from Jane Eyre, and it sounds wonderful. I was hoping 1941, so Mr. 19 could have like died a happy man if he got mugged in the alley on the way home. Yeah. I think that would have been great. Like if John Williams had just like opened the concert, he'd come out and he'd been like, "So the guy told me that there's a guy here who's been here 19 times. Can you stand up, please?" And then just wave at him. "So you want to hear 1941? So here you go." That would have been like awesome.
That would have been great.
But yeah, I would like to have heard some Jane Eyre.
And I think instead of the Olympic fan, I would love to hear Some of the Heroes, because that's my favorite of the Olympic music, and that thing rocks. The Olympic theme is great, and it's the most known, but Some of the Heroes just takes it up to 11, and that would have been great. And especially with that brass section, they would have knocked it out of the park.
Desert Chase would have been nice.
Oh my God. Yeah, he'd never do that. That makes no sense on its own.
Makes sense to me. It makes perfect sense to me.
Yeah. I'm just glad he didn't play any of those like kind of reworked versions of like, the Han Solo theme or Scherzo for Motorcycle and Orchestra. Because I'm just so used to them in their original concert form. Yeah. But I mean, there's a whole bunch of stuff I would love to have heard, but I'm happy with I'm kind of glad I didn't hear Close Encounters. I'm not a huge fan of Williams's suite from that. I like Gerhardt's version, but it's not one where I'm like, oh, I gotta hear Close Encounters.
I hear it at most every concert, so I'm okay not hearing it this time.
And I love that score, I really do. But it's like, I could live without it, and I thought I could live without ET, but you know what? I'm really glad I heard that again. It's really, really well done live. And again, you can just tell Williams is so passionate about that score as well. I think that is his favorite score. So, yeah, good stuff. Good stuff all around.
Well, I think it was definitely worth the effort and the money invested in going.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm gonna look at my bills and go, oh my God. But then I'm like, you know what? Worth it. It's worth it. For sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Now I keep looking at flights for Force Awakens at the end of June, first part of July, and it's like looking at $400 for a flight.
You're gonna save that money and you're going to come here in February, remember, it's Back to the Future on Friday and
Superman on Saturday.
And you got a place to stay.
But see, February's a long way off. I can still do that.
It is, but then think about the money that you can save or spend on new CDs until you wait.
Fill this box up for Ian with that money.
See? There you go. Do that. Do your nice deed for the year for Ian, and then you come on down, visit us in the middle of February.
I have a coat.
But you're gonna need 3. But yeah, you should come down. I mean, that weekend's gonna be crazy. And by the way, you can meet some other film score fans. My buddy Rob Daniels is gonna go see Back to the Future. So he has a film music show here in town. Really nice guy. So the 3 of us could go see that. And then when you go to Toronto, you can meet Saul Pincus, who has got some amazing film and film score stories. David Casina, who writes music for my podcast. Who else is coming? There's a couple other people that are coming. Oh my God, what's his name? I feel so stupid. He's a great Canadian composer, and I can't remember his last name. I think he's going to be there too. It's going to be a big night for the Amin Bhatia. So I think he's going to be there for the Superman concert. And then, we can go out afterwards and reminisce about watching Superman live. And yeah, you can hang out here and we'll just blast music in the living room and annoy my wife and kids. And we can show you around Kitchener. Maybe take you to a hockey game.
Hockey. That's a thing in Canada, right?
It is a thing in Canada. I took Jason Drury to see his first hockey game and he loved it. I also took him to his first baseball game and he loved it. Yeah, there's a lot of cool stuff to do around here. I mean, again, it's February. It's freaking cold, but
will you have snow?
Yeah. Although, I mean, if it was like this winter, it wasn't that bad. But anyway, come on down. 2 great concerts, good company. Yeah, do it. I think David Pinsack is saying, yes, February is the choice.
Well, I kind of feel like February was already agreed upon, but.
Well, good. Okay, good. I didn't do it. So don't go to Force Awakens. Save your money. Buy CDs for Ian. And then
buy that watch from Richard Mile.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Buy that watch. I wish I could show it. My phone is the camera. So it's really some watch. But yeah, no, I mean, overall, great trip. Thank you. Love Chicago. Love the Chicago Symphony. I'm gonna look up a lot of the recordings now and see what they have. John Williams looks very youthful conducting. I hope he stays around for another, how many, 10 years, 15 years, still writing great music and doing more concerts. And if you can go see him and you haven't seen him, go do it and support your local orchestra.
I kind of wish I'd made the San Francisco concert happen in February, but
it's better in San Francisco in February than it is here.
It was, I think the cheapest ticket I found was $1,500, and my least favorite German was there. So.
No, dude, no, it'll be cheaper for you to come here.
Yeah,
you'll have a great time, and you'll be around people who love film music.
What if they don't like me?
They'll like you. Just you should come like dressed like a Mountie. Next time. So you went like a gangster in Chicago, you should come as a Mountie.
Okay. That was kind of casual for traveling for me.
Was that?
Yes.
Wow.
I had a shawl collar cardigan, and I traveled in nicer cargo pants, and I wore Doc Martens the entire time. And it was a 30-year-old cashmere top coat.
Not a 30-year-old. Yeah, you must have looked at me and went, what the hell, man? Jeans and some Dockers from Mark's Work Warehouse. What did it all cost you? $100? Yes, it did. I could afford to take you out for dinner then, Daniel.
And thank you for paying for all the food, by the way.
Hey, you look, you got me tickets. You gave me a place to stay. That was the least I could do. And I wish I could do more. And I was willing to follow you wherever you wanted to go in Chicago. And yeah, no, I had a great time. It was great to meet you. You're a lot taller than what I thought you were going to be. And you're a snazzy dresser. And yeah, it was great. It was great. Good company. And you're a light sleeper.
Am I?
Or no, sorry, a silent sleeper. You were very quiet. At times I looked over, I'm like, are you breathing?
I sleep like ninja.
Yeah, I do. Like when you had your nap before the concert, I was sitting there on my phone, and then at points I'm looking over going, and then I'm staring at the back of your chest, hoping that it's moving up and down so that you're breathing, because I couldn't heard anything. It was like, oh my God, is he dead? Yeah. But you get up early, man. Holy smokes, you get up early. But I guess that's what you're used to. Mm-hmm. So but yeah, no, it's it was fun. It was a lot of fun. It was great to meet you. And thank you very much for one of the greatest days of my life. And I owe you more than just food. So
you don't need anything.
Come on down in February and we'll have fun.
I did want to buy that top coat at Paul Stewart though. I thought for like
the mustard color one or the blue one?
Oh yeah, I wasn't gonna drop $1,800. The blue plaid one that was on sale. Because it was like okay, so it was like 1,900, it's half off, it's an extra 30 off. So I'm doing the math. I'm like, this is kind of attainable, but no, I really don't need another blue top coat. So.
You need more CDs.
That box for Ian needs more CDs.
Well, you need to buy, or you need to at least look up Supercell.
I already did. I've got it on my YouTube.
Good. We were talking about this just before the show started, and there's this new score. It's my favorite of the year so far by Corey Wallace. It's called Supercell. It's a love letter to traditional film scores. It's written for a disaster movie that looks like a ripoff of Twister, but it's awesome. It is so awesome. So if you guys need something to buy or listen to, Supercell. It's on YouTube. I'm not sure whether it's on any streaming platforms, but yeah, it's great. Great stuff. So there you go. There's your recommendation for the day.
Sound Engraver says she has no concern for me dressing up for her wedding in October. I want to talk to you about that. I asked Professor Geek if there was a dress code, and he said pants. And I was like, because I was pondering ordering a new kilt for your wedding because I have gotten too fat and obese for all of mine. So when he said pants, I took that to mean that he's telling me not to wear a kilt. So then I shot back at him and said that Big Al and I were just going to like cosplay for your wedding. I would be Captain Marvel and he would be Brie Larson. But
hey, speaking of pants, I thought you'd won the day of like the best dressed. But did you see the dude that was just wearing like skin tight shorts and brown socks and his dress shoes? And
I did.
Yeah, and so the two I don't know what the guys standing by the door. We're just looking at each other. Well, I guess sometimes you don't need to wear pants. And I was like, oh my gosh. It was like these brown, like I don't know what the style is, but it was like, oh my God, interesting. And it was freezing.
It was. I guess he's a true Chicagoan. Is that a word?
I don't know. It was not but he
his girlfriend was hot. I'll say that.
Yeah, I think the dude was distracting me because of what he was wearing. So normally I would notice that, but yeah.
I think his legs were shaved too.
I have no idea, but it was unique. I thought he must be wearing a kilt, but there's no kilt.
No, he was not wearing a kilt.
It was some I don't know. He looked like those guys, like those what is it from? Like Denmark or
Lederhosen.
Yeah, the guys
yeah, those weren't those
horn blowers or whatever. Yeah, I don't know, whatever. Anyway, yeah. So Yeah, that was funny.
Sound Graver says, please no. Please no cosplaying as Brie Larson or no to me buying a new kilt. I already picked it out. I'm going to get Forbes weathered, pleated to the stripe. I'm on the fence between box pleats or standard pleats. Probably standard because box pleats are like $200 more. So. Anyways, I'm sure everyone wants to know about what my next huge purchase is. So, oh, she says no to both. Well, okay, I'm pretending like my heart's not broken.
Oh no.
Into small pieces, but that's okay. Well, again, Erik, thank you for going.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
I'm glad the concert did not suck. Too bad Ian wasn't there with us.
That would have been the best. I really wish he was there. He would have. I think he would have had fun. I would love to meet him in person. He would have enjoyed it very much.
I planted the seed the other day. I said, hey, you know, the Boston Pops Christmas concert's coming up in December.
So, yeah. Anyway, maybe Ian can come down in February. We all hang out in Canada.
We could probably get Ian over in February.
Come on down for a weekend.
Do you think he has a passport? I mean, he's European. Don't all the Europeans have passports?
Well, I don't know. Who knows what happened with Brexit, but I'm sure he could get one now. And, you know, he has about 11 months to do it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, no, that'd be great. Hey, fantastic. Yep.
Well, I guess this about wraps up the review of the concert.
Mm-hmm.
As always, the Top Sound Shop. Keep listening to great film music. Everyone who's at the concert, if you know who blue-haired 19-time person is, let me know. I would love to sit down and chit-chat with him.
You should go on JW Fan, see if anybody knows who this guy was out there. So
there's a thing called 4chan. Doesn't 4chan know everything?
Oh God, I don't know.
That's what I hear. I mean, internet's never really lied to me.
Never.
Y'all have a good night. We'll see y'all soon.